But
You know what? Real quick, Booner, and this is where me and you had this discussion before, right? And I
yeah,
brought up to, and this is way before this playoff run. And when we were talking about the Booner path, I said to you that the NFL isn't a year-to-year league always, right? Injuries you have to take into account, a lot of things that go into it, right? Like that's why there's a lot of teams that have made the Super Bowl or made playoff runs that just quite never got back. Like the Bills, most recent example, they made the AFC title game and they haven't sniffed one since. So, and they have Josh Allen. But there's other things that go into it, right? Like you mentioned Brad Holmes, and that's a great point. No one's going to question Brad Holmes. Like he's building a damn good roster that I think for longevity purposes you have confidence in. Why this sucks is because it was right there. Like it was right there. The path, the Booner path this year. You had the Rams, the Bucks, a 49ers team, which you were in control for, 2 quarters. Dominant. It wasn't just control. It was a dominant performance from the Lions. And then you look forward and you think the Chiefs just made the Super Bowl. It's a team that you've beaten already, of course, without Kelsey and Chris Jones, but you like their chances there in Vegas. So when you look at other teams, and yes, we can say, well, we'll be back next year. We'll be in this conversation for years to come, which I do think they'll be in the conversation. But to simply say they'll be back in the NFC title game, like that's hopeful because that's not taking into account other teams. I don't know, getting better as well.
Okay,
and not
but Jeff,
taking into account injuries. So it does suck because of that reason. It sucks.
Let's take this into account then, because I've seen a lot of this on Twitter as well. People say, "Oh, the Bears are going to be better. The Packers." Okay, right. Let's talk about that real quick. Well, guess what, Jeff? The Lions already have a way better football team, and guess what? Guess what the Lions have that the Bears and the Packers have? They have a draft as well, and guess what else they have? They have they have money to go spend in free agency as well. They're going to be able to go do exactly what the Bears have done, except they are already on that level. If you're going to look me dead in the eyes, and anyone in this chat here, and yes, I see the Booner Path in here, Spenmo, like the Booner Path, I've said this from the jump. Said it from the jump that the Booner Path is a 3, 4, 5 year thing to where this team's going to win this organization. If you guys want to start to go back to where we were year one and when they were 4-19-1, and all of you people who were going at people, not even looking at the structure of the organization and seeing how things were going up and wanted to just start getting guys out and not look at the long term. We're looking at the long term right now. And that's where I'm with Lucas is you basically are going to have the same exact football team back. There are going to be a couple small pieces moved around, but every single core piece, you're still going to have one of the best running back duels in the NFL. They're only going to get better. You have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He's only going to get better. You have Jared Goff, who has been elite this year. You have one of the best offensive lines, are only going to get better. And you're only going to get that defense better through the drafted free agency. It only gets better. Yes, I'm not saying it's a guarantee you get back to the NFC Championship game. That's why when you go look at the odds in the sports books, it's plus 1,700, it's plus 1,500, plus 900, because it's hard to do that. But that doesn't mean this football team isn't going to do that the next few years. I think they have proven enough in the last 2 seasons that they could take what they have and go win football games and put themselves in a position to go do that. And that's where the Booner Path and all of that kind of lies is, hey, they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFC next year and in the NFL next year because they're only going to get better through the draft and free agency. And that's a fact. Dan Campbell's one of the best. He's one of the best coaches in football. You have one of the best GMs in football, and you have one of the best rosters in football right now. Just because you lost a football game doesn't mean you can't get back there last year. All of you people right now that are just listening to Dan Campbell's comments, oh, it's hard to get back. Yeah, like I get the comments he made. Don't use let's be realistic here, because I'm sure all of you people who are going to sit here and say that next year it's good, they're not going to get back there next year. I bet you last year at 1-6, all of you people were saying fire Dan Campbell. So sit down and let's keep this train moving. This is a different organization. This isn't Quinn Trisha. This isn't any of that BS. Well, so everyone needs to move on from that. This is a football team that just lost a tough game in the NFC Championship game and was a win away from going to a Super Bowl. Let's not act like this is a bad organization anymore. That's where I'm at with it. That's what pisses me off with all of this. It's that there's people that are going to look me in the eyes and say, let's just be negative for the next 6 months. No, this is an organization that's turned it around, Jeff.
I'm not saying
doing, and I see Adam in there laughing. No, Adam, you were one of the ones that were saying Dan Campbell should be fired.
Let Jeff go ahead. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, this is where I'm coming from with this. Because Booner and Lucas, you guys are right. This organization is set up for longevity. Like they have a ton of young players. They made the 49ers, mostly veteran roster. They got guys that are ready to win right now. That's how they're constructed. Obviously with Brock Purdy on a rookie deal, but still to win now. The Lions, regardless of what you want to bring up for the future, yeah, it's bright. I get that. But they blew an
Yeah,
opportunity.
that is a
Like,
fact.
they
blew an
blew.
opportunity. That is a fact.
And by the way, we'll get to the they, because we'll talk about who we think is more to blame and all that in a little bit here. But that's it. That's all. Like they blew a wide open opportunity to make the Super Bowl and to be in a Super Bowl where I think it would have been damn near a pick 'em. Regardless, you face the Chiefs. Like I think, especially if the Lions beat the 49ers like that, people would be like, man, Lions, they can win a Super Bowl this year. So yeah, it's frustrating. Like they were a half away from making history as a franchise, and that's frustrating. Like the future's bright. I get all that. Like kumbaya, it's cool, but right now that they blew that. They blew that opportunity. It's terrible.
I don't think it was like, and there were people in here like it was one of the worst collapses. Jeff, what did I tell you this morning? I said I woke up this morning and the first thing I thought was like looking back at that Falcons that 28-3 thing, like a 25-point lead, they blew that, and I'm like, dude, we were literally a half away with a 17-point lead with the chance to go to the Super Bowl and you collapse. That is a fact. The only thing I don't like to see is people really going at this organization and Dan Campbell and these players and being like, oh man, like they may never get back here again. Like, just like Dan said, like, do I think that's true? No, like we will be back here. This, like, do you think the San Francisco 49ers in their very first time that they lost here a couple years ago with Kyle Shanahan, that they were like, oh man, we may never be back here again, man. This sucks. No, they're all like, hey, we're going to be here next year. Just like last year when they lost and didn't have a quarterback, they're like, we're going to be back here next year. We're going to go to a Super Bowl. That's the confidence. That's where the Booner path came in earlier, changing the mindset of all of the loser fan base for 20 years that we all got instilled into us growing up. Like, change that mindset at one point. Quit making excuses.
No, I mean that's what we were saying earlier. But to get back to Jeff's point, is they blew it. They absolutely did.
For sure.
It was in the matter of 3 plays, in my opinion. It was the one that will haunt me till the end of time is the Josh Reynolds drop on the 4th and 2, because Jared Goff avoided a pass rush. I believe it was Nick Bosa or Chase Young, one of the edge rushers, stepped up in the pocket. I thought he was about to get sacked. And then when I first saw, I was like, Jared didn't throw the best ball. No, Jared put it on the defender was on Josh Reynolds' back. He hit him right in the hand. And that was the player that I was talking about going into the game was going to be the most dependable. And Josh Reynolds was just a shadow of himself. He made one catch and it was a little too late. And if he makes that 3rd down catch, I believe it was the drive after the Jameer or before the Jameer fumble, they advanced the change and they're at least just killing the clock. And so I think Josh Reynolds, I love him to death, especially for what he did for the team to get us here. But to not step up in moments like that when you've been doing it your whole career and letting the quarterback down that's been doing it with you your whole career, that was the biggest one. I mean, the Kendall Vildor off the face mask, that was one of the most embarrassing plays that I've ever. That was like a flashback from 2008. That is something you see in those plays.
Yeah, dude,
that was the play that really did it all, because that's what got the 49ers just going. That's when it was like, all right, we are meant to win this game. And it just sucks. The corners on the perimeter, just the weaknesses showed, and Kyle Shanahan found a way to take advantage of it. They completely neutralized George Kittle in that second half. He got his way going. They didn't let Brock Purdy run in the first half. He ran multiple times in the red zone to set up big plays.